We have argued that we need a method to solve problems. But where does that method come from? You don't need to know the answer to that question to use the approach we recommend called the 4S approach. But you may become a more skillful user of the method if you are aware of its intellectual origins. The core of the approach to stating and disaggregating problems that we present here comes from the strategy consulting industry, and specifically from McKinsey, the pioneer of that industry and of many of its methods. Think about it for a second. Strategy consulting firms tackle the most challenging problems that their clients face. You don't call them for the easy ones. They work under time pressure, and much of the work they do is carried out by relatively junior consultants. So to do their job, they must have a method to solve tough problems, and they must be able to teach it to new consultants in short order. Consultants like to present their approach as a pragmatic one. It is, in fact, grounded in classical logic, going back to Aristotle and to Descartes. In his discourse on the method, Descartes lays out 4 rules for solving problems that form the core of the current consulting approach. One of them, for instance, is divide each issue into parts until you find adequate solutions to each elementary issue. Consultants have adapted this approach to the business world. Mostly, they emphasize a form of it called hypothesis-driven problem solving. In hypothesis-driven problem solving, hypotheses are formulated and rigorously tested using logic. This works well for consultants. What works for consultants may not, however, necessarily work for you. Mimicking strategy consultants may even be dangerous. One reason for this has been brought to light over the past few decades by cognitive scientists who have studied our ways of thinking and our ways of making mistakes. As they discovered, one of the important pitfalls to which we are all exposed is the confirmation bias. We tend to seek information that confirms our pre-existing opinions and to discard data that would prove them wrong. Confirmation bias is the engine of the solution confirmation pitfall that we described in the previous video. Consultants are human beings too, and they are also subject to the confirmation bias. But in general, they have some solid safeguards against it. They're able to build on their knowledge bases to formulate sound hypotheses. They work in teams whose members are encouraged to challenge each other. They have a lot of practice with the problem-solving method. And they operate as outsiders. As such, they are somewhat less exposed to the hierarchical pressures and to the groupthink that can plague organizations. Attempting to practice the same sort of hypothesis-driven problem-solving without these safeguards is risky. That is why we argue, in most cases, for using issue-driven problem-solving instead. Issue-driven problem-solving starts from the question and eschews the formulation of early hypotheses. It is slower, it is sometimes more difficult, but it is safer. Most traditional business problems can be disaggregated into smaller pieces and solved in this way. Most, but not all. That is in fact a second limitation of the traditional consulting approach. Some problems do not lend themselves to it, especially problems that require creativity. Over the past 20 years or so, design thinking has become the standard way to tackle problems of this kind. Design thinking originally emerged in product design firms such as IDEO and in the Stanford D School. Its principles are now used not only to design physical products, but to solve all kinds of problems. In fact, even strategy consulting firms have adopted it, often by acquiring design agencies. To be a problem solver at all, you need to master the tools of logic. To be a good one, you need to be aware of the traps that cognitive science has discovered, such as the confirmation bias. And to be a great one, you need to be able to solve different kinds of problems with different approaches, including design thinking. The 4S method builds on these 3 foundations and uses 3 different problem-solving paths. In the next video, we'll present them in greater detail. Stay tuned.